What if the very thing that makes you different, the thing the world tells you to hide, is the exact thing your clients are starving and searching for? This week, I got the clearest divine download of my entire journey. No, it did not come in a strategy session, but it came during my morning meditation, where I saw a full visual of me standing on stage, speaking to the fear that is gripping the entire tech industry right now. By the end of this video, you will see what happens when you stop apologizing for your gifts and stop shrinking yourself to be small in order to fit someone else's comfort zone, and instead lean all the way in to the very gift that's been chasing you. This week, the vision truly locked in for me. And what unfolded internally? Let me take you on that journey in this video. If you're tracking this series, please make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can get notified about my weekly videos. Hi, my name is Ajita and welcome to my YouTube channel. With over 20 years of corporate experience, I am now the strategic advisor to executive leadership teams and executives in tech industry, upgrading their internal architecture to lead at visionary scale. What I share in this video is my live business building experience. I am not building this business from hustle and grind. Instead, I'm using 4 I's as my principle: infinite intelligence, identity, intuition, and inspired action. This is my live case study of building my business from $0 to $4.4 million in 12 months or less using my own proprietary Epic Leadership Operating System framework. This is the same framework that I use with my clients to help them lead at visionary scale. We are now on week 6, so let's see what's shifted. Let's start with the inner operating shifts. Emotional operating system. This week started off on a high for me, and then I went right into the valley and then up again. So it's been almost like up and down, and it was also the place where I had the most gold to uncover for myself. Last Tuesday, when I did my morning meditation, I had the most amazing electrical experience. Now, after that type of a meditation, you don't go back to sleep. You jump out of the bed because you're so excited about what's unfolding for you, and you start the day with a lot of energy. That's exactly what happened that day for me. And the best part about last Tuesday, the start of the week, was that I had a wonderful meeting with a friend who lives in Silicon Valley, and we were catching up, and as I was sharing what I'm embarking on or what I'm focused on at the moment, even before I told him anything about my target market, he told me, Ajita, you need to move to Silicon Valley. And the minute he said that, I had full body goosebumps. Why? Because exactly 2 weeks ago, my older son said the exact same thing to me, that I needed to be in the valley. 2 people, completely independent, reflecting back the very thing that I needed to hear so I know where I'm headed next. Now, that is not something you can manufacture. It has to be coincidental, and I don't believe in coincidences, so I do see this as a clear message for me as to where I'm headed next. Once I had that clarity, I spoke to a relative of mine who lives in Silicon Valley, and he gave me another validation. He actually told me that the valley right now is completely spooked with all the updates that the large AI organizations or companies are coming out with, and everybody is driven by the energy of fear. But he also gave me another insight, which was something that threw me into another emotional loop. He specifically said not to bring in intuition and consciousness and energy work into my pitch for the founders in Valley, because that will make me not so credible. I will probably not have a chance to win business based on that premise. I heard it. It didn't bother me then, but it came back and bothered me later, so I had to work through it. And the friction that I felt internally was, here I am being guided by the infinite intelligence to use that very consciousness and intuition as my superpower, whereas I'm hearing I should actually not be expressing it, not talk about it in my pitch and offerings. That was something I really needed to work through for myself on an emotional layer this week. And then came the next day. I think by Saturday, this idea of being in the valley and living in Bay Area started to sink in, and then the ego started coming in and started throwing a wrench, saying, who are you to be living in that kind of a place, and what is your credibility? What have you even done in your life to be living amongst people like that? Whatever, the mental chatter. and it's like you don't belong, and there was a lot of comparison coming up, and it just threw me into a spin that I think started on Saturday and pretty much lasted until Monday, yesterday. So I had to really take time to work through what was coming up, and I actually nailed it. What really happened as I was digging through why am I feeling this way, where is all this comparison coming from, I realized that it was a very, very deep old pattern from childhood where I didn't feel that I was intellectual enough compared to my relatives, my cousins, and they were all intellectually more superior than I was. And that was a paradigm that was running in my operating system since childhood. It also got aggravated or even more percolated in the long-term relationship that I was in. And so all of that started coming back to awareness, and I had to work through it. And the goal behind this was the way I worked through it. Actually, the biggest breakthrough was actually when my older son came to visit me. He was talking about how he handles any type of comparison. Is he says, I look at what is it that I have that they don't, and I anchor myself in that aspect. And he gave an example, like, talking about somebody, he said, they don't have the ability to code, but I do, and that's my superpower, and that is enough for me to feel anchored about what value I bring without getting caught up in what they have and what I don't, which was so beautiful because that gave me exactly what I needed to hear and believe and instill for myself and remember for myself, which is that all these Silicon Valley people are intellectually incredibly genius-like, and they have these incredible ideas that they want to bring to the world. What they don't have, probably to the extent I do, which is why it is my zone of genius, is the ability to tap into consciousness, the ability to tap into intuition is my zone of genius, and that's what I bring to this world. And that actually made me feel a lot better about anchoring myself in that knowing. Oh, another synchronistic event that happened was when my older son was visiting me. He took an Uber to come to see me, and this was just when I was having this lowest point on Wednesday. And he comes to me and he hands over this. This is like a $1 million bill, a fake one, of course. And he hands it off, and I asked him, where did you get this? And he says, well, the Uber driver had one and gave it to me. And I felt like giving it to you. And to me, this is the message from infinite intelligence that I can stop obsessing and worrying or being concerned about how this is going to happen, because this is already on its way. I thought that was really a cool synchronous experience this week. Moving on to physical operating system, this week my body was a mirror. I couldn't sleep very well a few nights, and my acupuncturist caught that very thing. He said, your kidney is sluggish, your blood flow is slow. And I asked him what would be the reason. He said, you might not have gotten enough rest. And I said, that's exactly right. What's becoming more and more clear to me is that when I have this really amazing meditative experiences where I'm able to see the energy of my future version or the new version merging into my current version, the day that I experience that type of electric meditation, my day is incredibly beautiful. Like, I am in this extremely different high vibrational frequency state that I don't worry, think anything about what's going to unfold. I'm in the flow. And the right next day, I find the exact opposite emotions showing up, and body starts to feel tired, fatigue, and the mind starts to race with all possibilities of doomsday scenarios. And I was wondering, why is this happening? Because when I started this episode, I said for emotional operating, I said it was like up and down. And that was because I saw it as a pattern continuously this week. And the awareness that I had was, or at least the way I reframed it or understood this up and down pattern for me, was that when my energy is merging to this new version of me with a happy higher frequency, it is actually pushing out what is not to any longer be in my physical body or in any other aspects, all the 4 aspects of the operating system: emotional, physical, intellectual, consciousness. When the new identity is merging energetically, I'm seeing that whatever is not in alignment with that energy and that energetic frequency is being released. That's why there is so much of emotional clearing with crying, the mental thought process where I have to really, all these doubts start to come up, and I have to consciously reframe them, push them, address them, and the body also starts to feel really fun and great one day, and the next day it starts to crash with less energy. So that's my conclusion, is that every time this amazing meditation unfolds and the energy starts to merge into the current version, the stuff that doesn't belong is being released. And I think that's very cool, but it's not fun experiencing it though. And last but not the least, with physical operating system, dance is still my go-to. It has been so therapeutic, and I did I think an hour, 2 hour dance workshop last night, learning a new Bollywood routine, and it was incredible. It's the best workout I've done in a very long time. Moving on to intellectual operating system, there were 3 key shifts for me this week with respect to some of the narratives. The first shift was going from I need proof to I am the proof. So there was this moment this past weekend where I went for a walk on Saturday, and I was I talked about the distorted reality versus the observed reality versus the ultimate reality in the last video that I talked about. It's the framing that author Neil Donald Walsh has given. And the distorted reality in my case was, oh, I don't have enough experience, I don't have credentials, I don't have, I don't know how I'm going to reach these people that I'm looking to serve. I was in the sky is falling analysis paralysis mode. And then I said, okay, this is clearly distorted reality. So let me look at the absolute reality. What is really happening? And I had to ground myself by saying, okay, I have the monetary support, I have corporate experience, I have all the certifications, the credentials are very much there. I have got so many client testimonials, and so the sky is not falling, right? And then the third higher ultimate reality mapping that I did was, okay, the truth is that this is my purpose. This is the only thing that is really keeping me on path in this world at this time, this purpose, this very thing that I'm here for. And so if that is true, then of course it's going to work out. The very people that I am seeking to serve are also seeking me, and we will find each other at the right time, right? That gave me so much more ease in my, so instead of saying I need proof to be able to go out there and serve, I said I'm already the proof, and those people are going to find me as I do whatever I am to do in my end of the process. The second shift was from going from hiding my gifts to making my gifts the strategy. I alluded to it that a well-meaning relative told me to keep consciousness and energy and intuition out of my offering and my pitch. And but it was very clear to me that in the meditation that I experienced, it was so clear to me that that is exactly the gift I am here to share with all these tech founders and C-level leaders that are so starving and are so in need of. And I actually saw a beautiful visual in meditation where I was standing on stage and I'm presenting to people in the room. They're all tech people, tech leaders, and I have a slide at the back of me in the stage, where on the one end there is a whole bunch of people rushing in one direction, and then there are a few people going in another direction. And I'm speaking to them and I'm telling them, are you going to be following the crowd because of fear of missing out, or fear of loss, or fear of failure? Or are you going to be courageous enough to walk the path that you and you alone are meant to walk and create something uniquely yours in this world? I'm actually saying that in my speech to the audience. And there are after the presentation, after the speaking event, I walk down and I see 20 people come towards me, and of that I'm connecting with 4 key people, and I'm actually making deals right there to serve them in their journey of achieving what they want to achieve in their journey, in their business journey. And that felt incredibly real and incredibly good. So I took that as a validation to say, that is, me being me in my full authentic version is the best thing I can do for the world. So I'm not here to listen to what, everybody is well-meaning. Everybody wants you to succeed, especially people that know you. So, but it's also clear to me that I know what I'm here to offer to this world. So I'm not going to dilute it. I'm not going to shrink it. The third shift I experienced was, instead of waiting till I'm ready, I told myself that I'm going to act as if someone is paying me $1 million every day for doing the business tasks that I do. And this shift was so key for me because I was in this analysis paralysis. I was not taking action. I was supposed to be sending messages out to people. I was doing none of that. So I challenged myself and I said, look, if somebody were to pay you $1 million a day to go send 10 messages to people in the world to practice your pitch or to get clear on who you want to serve, how you want to serve, if you were to do all of that, if somebody were to pay you $1 million to do that in a day, would you not do it? I said, of course I'll do it. So then just imagine somebody is paying you $1 million every day for doing those business related activities, and just go do them. And this happened when I was in a reflective walk in the evening. So I made 5 key things I decided that I'm going to be doing on a daily basis to show up as that person who's getting paid $1 million to do those 5 things. And I'll tell you what those 5 things are when we get to the outer operating system. So anyway, this I think for me was the 3 big shifts. And last but not the least, I was again doing this spiritual mentoring program with the author Neil Donald Walsh. And in this week's material, I read, and I'm going to read it out so I don't say it from memory. It's where he says, you don't become someone because of what you have done. You become someone because you choose to be one. Meaning you choose, it's a choice. Being something is a choice. You choose to be, and then you go do that who you are being. That's the shift, right? You put being ahead of doing. So I said, okay, I declare myself, I want to be, or I am an icon. So what do icons do? These, how am I showing up as an icon every day in my world? And that I made a list of 10 things that makes me an icon. And that's how I'm going to show up. And that's what is my choice, right? Beingness is a choice. That's the key message that I received through that process. And I think that is the best alignment exercise I did for this week. Consciousness operating system shifts this week. The first one is the meditation visual that I already talked about in intellectual operating systems. I'm not going to repeat that now, but it is so powerful because for me, the fact that in 1 week I got almost 3 people telling me exactly where I am headed next, who I am going to be serving in terms of audience. Basically, it's the tech executives and leaders and founders in Silicon Valley. I'm going to be heading to Silicon Valley. That's my next destination. I don't know the how or the when, but that's where I'm being called to go next, which is pretty obvious. And then to also hear the friend that I met with, he talked about called the $1 trillion coach. Apparently, there was a coach. I'm going to say the name in a minute. Apparently, there was a coach who supported or helped or guided pretty much all the big Silicon Valley companies, Steve Jobs, the Google founders, Larry Page, and a whole bunch of others. And his name is Bill Campbell. Bill Campbell was called the $1 trillion coach. There is actually a book that has been written on him after he passed away. He passed away in 2016. And so this friend that I met this week, he actually told me that very name of that book. He said, you should read the book $1 trillion Coach, because when he said you should move to Silicon Valley, he was literally connecting the coach that has helped so many Silicon Valley startups become successful, including being a confidant of Steve Jobs. So he said that book, and then he connected my travel there to Bay Area, and I was absolutely fascinated by that idea. So I bought the book already. I'm halfway through it, and it makes perfect sense, because the main message so far that I've gotten from that book is that Bill Campbell was actually completely a heart-centered human, and he was probably the core or the most heart-centered human in the midst of all the brilliant engineers of Silicon Valley. So he brought the heart into the space where a lot of the leaders there were driven by their head. So it was such a beautiful, balancing aspect of how he became a coach and a guide for others, because he was highly heart-centered and these individuals are highly head-centered. And that, I think, is the success equation. And that part resonates for me because that's how I see myself, bringing my heart, my authenticity, and my vulnerability into a space where vulnerability is not something that is common when it comes to the brilliance and the smartness that some of these high-level visionaries hold. So that, I think, is a great win in my awareness as an identity. I even called myself the female Bill Campbell of the AI era. Is that going to come true? I don't know, but hey, why not? Why not declare another identity that is more empowering and more impactful for this world? Did any of these aspects of inner operating shifts resonate with you for this week? If so, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Now let's move on to the outer operating shifts, which have been pretty massive since I made a huge commitment by saying I'm being paid $1 million a day for doing these things. So starting on the 20th, so I'm recording this on Tuesday the 24th in the morning. Starting on the 20th, I have already sent 10 messages a day to my contacts in LinkedIn, all past contacts, past colleagues that I've worked with, asking them for time to chat, to share what I'm doing and see how they can support me in terms of connecting me to people that are in need of my services or so on, or they themselves being interested in my services. So I sent 40 messages as of this call, and I have completed 5 calls so far, and 5 or 6 calls actually. I've completed 6 calls so far, and I have 5 more scheduled, and I have at least 3 more that have responded to my messages as of the time of this recording. So massive action taking. And I also posted a LinkedIn content yesterday, which was all about how fear is the driver, even in terms of AI change or resistance to AI adoption. Because I had this vision of speaking from stage on in my meditation, I found the upcoming conferences in Silicon Valley, and I have applied to 4 conferences to speak, and I've also identified 4 or 3 different conferences end of April that I'm planning to attend in person. So my Valley trip is already under planning, and I am expecting myself to be there for at least 2 weeks, getting to know the area, getting to attend these conferences, creating new connections. So I'm excited about that. And last but not the least, I talked about 5 things I decided I will be executing every single day, as if I'm getting paid $1 million a day. So the number 1 is to sending 10 messages each day, and number 2 is practicing my sales pitch, right? When I'm going to be meeting people here shortly in person, I want to really be good at sharing what I do with them in a way that it really lands the first time. And third is practicing with this conversation that I intend to have with these founders using AI, because AI is very good at coaching and role playing. So I've started putting that as part of my routine. Engaging in social media with some of the ideal clients that I would love to work with, so that they start to get familiar with my name. And last but not the least is developing a strategy to get in front of these ideal clients and executing on that strategy. So that's what I'm focused on a daily basis. So in conclusion, here's what I want to leave you with. This week, a well-meaning relative told me to stop using intuition, consciousness, and energy in my pitch because I'll lose credibility. But infinite intelligence told me otherwise. However, in between these 2 steps, there was a point where I did question, where I did doubt my gifts, my purpose. And in the meditation, I saw the entire tech audience are at the fork where they are having to decide to go one way, which is the AI rush, or the other way, which is exactly the purpose that they are here for. So we all find ourselves at the fork in the road. The fork in the road that determines which way we plan to go, which way we will end up going as part of our journey ahead. To draw an inspiration, Steve Jobs could have easily come up with the next version of Walkman, but he didn't. Instead, he created iPod. That's the way I see the work that I'm here to do. It's easy for me to be mainstream, do what everybody else is doing, and be part of the crowd, or I can choose to truly lean in on my gifts, which is my intuition, which is my ability to read the energy, consciousness upliftment, and really use that in a space that is not used to using it, thereby bringing that key differentiator. The reason Steve Jobs was able to bring out an iPod and not the next version of Walkman is because he dropped into something deeper within himself. And he created something that the world didn't know it needed. The question I want to leave you with is this: what are you here to bring forth that only you can create? And are you willing to stop following the crowd, even momentarily, to reflect on what that is for you, what that path is for you? The world doesn't need another leader who's playing it safe. The world needs the leader that's already you, the one that you are trying to edit out of your pitch. Stop editing and start leading. I'll see you next week.